Ladies and gentlemen, Kei Kim here. Welcome to the Daily Update. Hope you guys had a good day trading today. Market is up about 1% there on the S&P. Looks like NASDAQ and semiconductor had a pretty strong day there. NASDAQ is 2.3% positive today with the semiconductor up 4%. Small caps up 2.3%. It looks like energy and the banks are pretty much flat. We did see that the biotech made a move, 3%, along with the emerging market there. Grayscale Bitcoin is up about 4%. Gold and silver continues to kind of lag there. Treasury bond is down about 1%. Dollar's down about 0.5%. Let's stick with the S&P 500 ETF Spider 65-minute chart here. So I think there's a lot of things we talked about since over the weekend video, right? And the Monday price action to Tuesday and Wednesday and today, Thursday, right? I think a lot of it changed, right? When we saw that definitive higher low. I talked about it on Monday, right? When this thing got down here, along with that short-term moving average, that bulls desperately need that higher low right on that short-term moving average. And when we came to the market on Tuesday, when we saw that gap up, this definitely was that higher low with that higher high cultivation. Once we saw that higher low and higher high and the gap that was protected, I believe right at that moment, the battle was pretty much finished. I mean, there's other things that buyers had to do, which we talked about on Tuesday and Wednesday. But once we saw that higher low, higher high, short-term moving average acting as support, that gap getting protected, I think once that was established, I think buyers are ready to control this market once again. And with that, we have gotten above this falling resistance. We no longer in this lower highs environment any longer. We are now cultivating higher high here. We made new all-time highs on an intraday basis. New all-time highs on an intraday basis. That's a low. That's a recent lower highs here. And that's a higher high, right? So, and I think a lot of it has to do with that midterm sentiment we talked about. This was a Thursday and Friday. So we saw that little double bottom here, Thursday and Friday. We talked about how in the midterm, right, there will be fluctuations within that midterm uptrend as the market moves in fractals, right? So I think once the midterm support held, bounced, and we continue with that higher lows, once that midterm trend is bullish, and once that little bit of momentum shift that happens in the short term because of that bigger tide is going to the upside, I think it's much easier to bring it up. As you can see, almost every single morning this week we gapped up about 1%, right? Every single morning, and we marched higher every single day. And keep in mind, this entire pullback, I think it took almost 3 weeks. It took 3 weeks for this downturn. 3 weeks. And this took 1 week. So we're back to new all-time highs intraday basis, and that's a higher high there. We want to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers in the short term, midterm, and the long term as of today. And when I say benefit of the doubt goes to the buyers, that does not mean it's going to go straight up, right? I never once changed my midterm sentiment to bearish, not once since March lows. That does not mean market didn't have its fluctuations, because within that primary and the midterm uptrend, there were short-term corrections, there were short-term fluctuations. So what I mean when I say benefit of the doubt goes to buyers, when there's a pullback, it has higher probability. It is likely pulling back to cultivate that higher low, right? Before cultivating that higher high, because now we're in uptrend in all terms. So currently it looks like we're pulling back a little bit here after we printed all-time high intraday basis, and looks like it wants to potentially come down here and retest this level at 392.18 on Spider. That's a pretty strong resistance, potentially acting as new support. You can see that we've been hanging around in this vicinity quite some time, all throughout February here for a couple weeks, and then we gapped above it. So we have the gap area that's going to provide support, coinciding with the prior resistance acting as a new support, right? So we got this gap area. So we got this gap open, which is we'll categorize it as a breakaway gap, continuation gap, another continuation gap here. So this market is pretty strong because of these gaps are open, right? And a lot of times what happens is if the price comes down, fill these gaps, it's going to provide support. And especially this area here, 389.40 or 388. Should there be any kind of shenanigan to the downside, some just crazy down move, let's say, right? Let's just say what's going to happen is it's going to have to go through this resistance, right? So what's going to happen is all these levels going to provide that cushion. So I think 392 is a level to watch for next potential support. I won't be surprised to see this thing. Let's say if we do see this thing further decline, this level acting as support at 390. That's prior resistance. And it's good to see some of this gap, at least half of this gap remains open. That will provide the buying pressure to continue. Let's check out that oscillator here. So oscillator still in that sideways mode. Once the oscillator is in the sideways mode, as long as it stays above this dotted line here, you see this dotted line, we wanna perceive this signal as a not buying signal, but continuation signal, right? Continuation signal. We don't know how long this is gonna move sideways. And you can see that my short-term moving average is residing at this point 390 or so. That's going to act as support. Last time we hit that was back in, Monday, right? Right on that level. You can see a couple times here, this thing came down, hit that a few times, or a couple up moves before that thing actually came back down on that short-term moving average. You get the short-term moving average here and here and here. So we touched it once, and we haven't hit it yet. So if we see some downturn, I think that 390-ish level, there's a lot of support with these levels here, prior resistance levels, the gap areas, the short-term moving average in that vicinity. I think as long as we stay above this dotted line on the oscillator, we want to perceive that as this market can keep grinding higher, and no one knows where the top is, right? So we stick with the trend, what's been working. This is the reason why people who are long back in March lows and April lows and May lows, those are long-term investors who accumulated back then. And if they're still riding, because we're still in an uptrend, long-term and mid-term, they're doing exceptionally well. But if there are people who are trying to tell the market because of their fear with COVID, with lockdowns, whatever reason might be, they've been missing out the move. Does that make sense? So let's see how the market plays out. See how this market deal with the 390 to 390 level. I'll come back for you. Enjoy your evening and good luck trading tomorrow.